Call this meeting of Lima City Council to order. We'll start the meeting off with the invocation by Councilor Tebben, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, please help guide us as we perform the business of the city this evening. Let us be thankful for the many positive aspects of our community and continue to work on opportunities for improvement. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Nieper.
Here.
Mr. McLean.
Here.
Mr. Lowe.
Here.
Mr. Tebben.
Here.
Miss Adams.
Here.
Mr. Glenn.
Here.
Miss Townsend.
Here.
And Mr. Nixon.
Here. There are no scheduled public hearings and no privilege of the floor. Consent calendar.
President,
Ms. Townsend?
I move that items B and C on the consent calendar be received and filed, and item A be received, filed, and approved.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive, file, and approve item A and to receive and file items B and C. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 1.
From the Director of Community Development regarding legislation to place tax assessments.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams?
I move that communication number 1 be received and filed. Legislation is on tonight's agenda.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 1. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 2.
From the Director of Community Development regarding legislation to remove tax assessments.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams?
I move that communication number 2 be received and filed. Legislation is on tonight's agenda.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 2. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 3.
From the Director of Human Resources regarding seasonal pay rates.
Mr. President,
Ms. Townsend?
I move that communication number 3 be received, filed, and approved.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive, file, and approve communication number 3. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 4.
From Art Space Lima requesting legislation to hold the rally in the square.
Mr. President,
Mr. Lowe?
I move that communication number 4 be received and filed,
Second.
We need law. We need legislation also.
and legislation be prepared by our law director.
Second. The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 4 and to authorize the law director to prepare the necessary legislation. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 5.
From the Deputy Director of Parks requesting legislation to enter into a contract with Marimore Industries.
Mr. President,
Mr. Nieper.
excuse me. I move that communication number 5 be received and filed. No further action is necessary.
Second. The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 5. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 6.
From Chief Hefner regarding legislation to enter into a contract with United Fire Apparatus.
Mr. President,
Mr. Glenn.
I move that communication number 6 receive and file legislation on the night agenda.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 6. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 7.
From the Director of Public Works requesting legislation to enter into a contract for a large area mower.
Mr. President,
Mr. Nieper.
I move that communication number 7 be received and filed. Authorize the law director to prepare the necessary legislation.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 7 and to authorize the law director to prepare the necessary legislation. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Communication number 8.
From the Deputy Law Director regarding legislation to amend Ordinance 1413.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams.
I move that communication number 8 be received and filed. Legislation is on tonight's agenda.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive and file communication number 8. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. There are no petitions under reports of officials. Rick Stolley with the winter wrap-up and summer outlook.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Good to be with you tonight. We've got a kind of a quick wrap-up of our winter. I'd like to introduce some youngsters that took part in some of our activities over the winter months, then give you a little bit of a summer forecast, spring and summer, where we're headed. So, normal maintenance projects throughout the parks during the winter months, added to our normal snow removal and some of the brush cutting and low limbing of trees and so forth. We also took out about 200 stumps from ash trees that have gone down over the last year or two. We've also did some equipment repair that we normally do, restored and or built about 25 new picnic tables, spent a lot of time refurbishing our skateboard park equipment, and we look to unveil that here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We've got a young man from Lima City Schools in the Arts and Graphic Arts Department coming out to put some nice logos and things on that equipment, so it's really going to look nice. We get that back into the skateboard park. Leading up to getting back into the parks, getting our restrooms opened up here as weather permits in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So again, pretty busy winter, but very productive as well. Moving on to our recreational activities, we had our youth basketball program. It's now the WOYBL, the Western Ohio Youth Basketball League. This year we had about 60 teams involved in the league. It's about a 10-week program. Boys and girls grades 3 through 6 on Saturdays that play. It's about a 10-week program. Begins in December and wraps up at the end of February with tournament play. So it's quite a season. We'd like to recognize, we had in that, it's probably close to 600 some kids involved in that program from throughout Lima and some of the surrounding areas. The value that this program brings to the table for our youth, commitment to a team effort, understanding the working together and all the life lessons that come with that. Very, very valuable. And all the volunteers that step up and coach and help us in many, many aspects of the program. So this year we were fortunate that 2 of the teams from Lima, our girls' 5th and 6th grade team, the Lima Sparks, ended up 11-2 and runners up in the 5th and 6th grade girls division. And I believe Coach Davenport is here tonight with his team. Coach, could you have the girls stand up or come on up real quick? Ladies, those who could be here tonight. We think about the effort, the number of hours that these kids and the coaches put into this program, and to finish runner-up in the league is certainly a terrific memory that we hope that you will take with you for many, many years and build on it as you continue through your junior high and high school years and beyond, hopefully. Coach, anything you'd like to say?
This is the future of Lima. I'm not here to support these girls because they deserve it. They need someone to back them up. I hope everyone understands that. So, appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach, very much. And our 5th and 6th grade boys team finished, the Lima Knicks finished 12-0 and tournament champions. And Coach Stapleton, you want to bring the guys up and come on up real quick? Gentlemen.
It's more than I am.
Quite an effort on behalf of, again, these young men who dedicate 10 weeks and the parents who give up all the dinners and the extra time and the washing of uniforms and all the things that come with it. Thank you very much for all that you do to help make this program as successful as it is. And it doesn't happen without a commitment from the kids, the parents, and everyone involved with it. So, Coach, anything you'd like to say about the season?
Yeah, congratulations to both teams.
All right, very good. Gentlemen? And I also got to tell you, Brett Ream, who helps run that program, or really initiates it, all of it from the city, but also negotiates and works with all the other schools that are involved in the league as we host our meetings and our rules interpretation things and all the things that go on. Brett does a terrific job in making sure that everyone's on the right page. And when you bring 8, 9 entities together with 60-some teams, it's got to be cooperation from everybody. And yeah, this is only our second year of doing it, and there's still some hiccups, but it's a great program. We estimate that close to 700-800 people are involved on a Saturday coming out to be a part of all that action. And I can't think of a better way to spend the winter months for the kids and their families. So again, congratulations to those two teams that worked very hard to accomplish what they did this year. And understanding that it isn't just about the winning. It's what you learn along the way. Our spring and summer forecast, some things that we're looking forward to are, right now our softball and baseball signups are going on. We'll start playground registrations in May. The pool schedule will open up in early June. So schools, as far as using the use of our facilities right now, the tennis courts at Collard are being used for practice, and those tennis seasons open up the first part of April. Baseball, our diamonds are being used, and as soon as they dry out, they'll be used. Simmons Field will be used by Lima Senior, LCC, and of course, as summer rolls around, Lima Legion and the Lima Locos, and we're looking forward to having them all back again this year. Our adult softball program will begin in May. Co-ed and the men's league, over 50 league, will begin again in June. So we're looking forward to that action. As far as what's going on in the community, for us, people are coming in daily and requesting shelter house usage and other green space usage. And of course, our partnership with the Lima YMCA and all the activities that they have going on in the parks, from t-ball to soccer to flag football, that will take place in the spring and go on into the summer and then on into the fall. We're very pleased to work closely with the Y and enjoy that relationship and all the things that we're able to provide for the kids, not only in Lima but our surrounding community as well, that take part in and make these youth activities and adult activities what they are today. Also a reminder that a lot of these registration forms and a lot of the information that we have here tonight is either on or will be coming up as soon as schedules are available on our website, and we encourage you to be visiting that as well to help get you information on what's going on with the Parks and Recreation Department. Anything I can answer for anyone tonight?
Mr. President,
Mr. Glenn.
I'd like to congratulate you for a well job. You and Brent Reed and your staff and all the coaches and the parents. It's fantastic. We see you guys support your kids in this program that grew up. That's great. When I played, you had that many. I didn't make it to the championship though, so.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Reports of committees, the Economic and Community Development Committee.
Mr. President.
Ms. Adams.
I won't go into detail of the meeting because all members have received a copy. I will touch on some of the highlights. The Community and Economic Development Committee met on March 4th at 6 p.m. at Whittier Place. The unit that we met at was at 1155 Reese Avenue. Committee members that were present were Councilor Sam McLean and Councilor Derry Glenn. Others present was Amy Sackman Odom, the Director of Community Development, Tammy Hurst, Deputy Law Director, Barb Massa, Executive Director of the New Lima Housing for the Future, and Major Anthony Swaggart, Lima Police Department, along with Counselor Jesse Lowe and the media. The subject of the meeting was the update on the Whittier Place development. The meeting was opened at 6. We reviewed some history of the development and where we're at this present time and moving forward per HUD's direction. And wanted to get some clarification on moving forward that per HUD's direction, we're looking at a lease to purchase program, and it's hopefully will be a 2-year lease. Nothing's been confirmed with HUD, but we hope to have language in there of a 2-year lease with the option to buy and going through the first-time home buyers program as well. And part of the lease payment will go down as a down payment plus what they earn going through the first-time home buyers. With that, I move that the committee report be received, filed, and approved.
Second.
The motion and the second is to receive, file, and approve the committee report is submitted by Councilor Adams. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Ordinance 4413.
Levying special assessments for property maintenance code charges on premises in the city of Lima.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams?
I move that ordinance 44-13 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4413 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ordinance 4413 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Ordinance 4513.
Removing property maintenance assessments on certain parcels of real estate in the city of Lima, Ohio.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams?
I move that ordinance 4513 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4513 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ordinance 4513 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Ordinance 4613.
Authorizing the mayor to dispose of out-of-date computers and printers.
Mr. President,
Mr. McLean?
I move that ordinance 4613 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4613 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ordinance 4613 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Ordinance 4713.
Establishing the positions and classifications hereinafter set forth and fixing the salary and compensation of such positions and classifications, repealing existing inconsistent ordinances as herein described.
Mr. President,
Ms. Townsend?
I move that ordinance 4713 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4713 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ordinance 4713 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Ordinance 4813.
Authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with United Fire Apparatus.
Mr. President,
Mr. Glenn?
I move that ordinance 4813 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4813 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ordinance 4813 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Ordinance 4913.
Amending ordinance 1413.
Mr. President,
Ms. Adams?
I move that ordinance 4913 be passed on its first reading.
Second.
The motion and the second is to pass ordinance 4913 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Tevin?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Ms. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Nieper.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
And Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Ordinance 4913 has been passed on its first reading by an 8-0 vote. Concludes the ordinances. Miscellaneous business, Mr. Tevin.
One item this evening, the Boulevard Neighborhood Association will have their March meeting tomorrow, March 12th, at 7 p.m. at the Community Resource Center, formerly Fire Station Number 4, 1440 West Spring Street. The speaker will be Major Chris Protzman of the Lima City Police Department, who will be present to give a report and answer questions for the Neighborhood Association members. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tevin. Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mr. President. Got a few items this evening. The Ohio Department of Transportation is having a public meeting for Interstate 75 reconstruction for Allen County. Will be this Wednesday, March 13th at 5:30 at the Howard Johnson Hotel off of 309. This also pertains to reconstruction of Route 81 and 117 and 309 interchanges. And I encourage those of you interested to please plan to attend this Wednesday at 5:30 at the Howard Johnson Hotel. I would like to also announce the first City Focus community meeting hosted by Westgate, where the mayor and the administrative staff will be there to discuss current projects and answer any discussions. It'll be this Sunday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. at the Chamberlain Huckery Funeral Home at 920 North Cable. Then on Saturday, March 23rd at McDonald's on Market Street from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's the first Coffee with a Cop. And you can come there and have conversations with officers and get a free cup of coffee. I personally would like to thank the committee members of the Community Economic Development Committee, Councilor McLean and Councilor Glenn, for agreeing to meet at Whittier Place last Monday. Also would like to thank Amy Odom, Major Swaggart, for attending. I then also would like to thank Saul Allen and his staff for the recent snow removal efforts last week that pertained to the 5th Ward. I had called the following day and expressed my gratitude on a job well done and hope he had expressed that with his staff. I would like to call a committee meeting of the Economic Community Development Zoning Committee for next Tuesday, the 19th at 6 p.m., where the subject that had already been referred by Councilor Tebben back on January 7th, the issue of junk and abandoned vehicles will be discussed that pertain to parking in the city of Lima. And with that, I would like to request the law department provide copies to the committee what is presently addressed under the Ohio Revised Code and our codified ordinances prior to that meeting, if at all possible, pertaining to the junk autos and abandoned.
What was the time of the committee meeting?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Next, 5:30, excuse me.
5:30?
Yeah, 5:30,
Thank you.
next Tuesday. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. Glenn?
Yes, got a couple of things here. We have the cadet meeting that can continue going on Monday the 18th at 5:30. So I want to remind everyone that we will be continuing that meeting. This has already been referred. This is the date we set to put together a couple of things there. Also, this Saturday we will be going around different areas picking up paper that look pretty bad. In some of the areas, since the snow now melted, and I know some people had called me that you have, and I appreciate the street department. I gave a call about them getting out to sweep some of the street areas there. I went around, checked out some of the areas. So we'll try to get out and about this weekend. We'll get some volunteers, and I know some local halfway house guys going to come out and help out. But I will be donating the lunch and bags to get this stuff done. There's a lot of paper out there, and I mean, it's up in people's yards and stuff, so, and I blew in from the snow, and hope that we keep good weather. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glenn. Ms. Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Adams kind of took care of the
Yep.
Westgate group, so I too would appreciate everybody coming to the City Focus. It's always an informative time where, as she described, department heads tell what's going on. So Sunday the 17th, take time out of your St. Patrick's Day celebrations and come celebrate with the mayor. Thank you.
Word.
I got mine on.
That is, Mr. Nieper.
Yes, you know, with the youth basketball here tonight, it just brings to mind the quality and tradition of basketball that we've had in this community. We have a number of teams that have moved on to the regional tournaments. I just want to wish all of them good luck as those teams try to reach their dreams of a state championship. I also want to call a Public Works Committee meeting for this Thursday at 5 p.m. in the conference room to discuss the downtown streetscape maintenance as was referred during this year's Finance and Budget Committee hearings.
Anything else? Okay. Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got a couple items. One, Northside Neighborhood Association's meeting will be the 19th at 7 p.m. at the St. Gerard's Parish Hall. And I want to refer to the Utilities Committee to have a meeting for the update of the Cambridge and the Billing Department. I'd like to make a motion that we have.
You don't need a motion. You
I need no
need it.
motion, it's already there.
Are those issues in your committee?
That's your
They're
first.
still in.
It's still there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
We're going to set that
That's the only thing you'd have to have a motion on.
6:30 p.m. on the 19th.
Gosh.
And we may be holding that on the road at the Cambridge building.
Uh-oh, that sounds crazy.
Since Mrs. Adams got to start.
That's
Yeah,
us.
I'm glad we're doing that. That's great.
Nothing in there. Good. We'll be in there.
See,
Yeah.
good job.
It won't be long.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Mr. Lowe?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce that tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., Eastside Neighborhood Association will be holding their meeting. I do see some of the upcoming counselors that they would like to come and participate with us. I'll be at 7 o'clock again at Forest Park Church, 315 Collins. If you have time, you can come and introduce yourselves and let them know what your focus will be. The other thing that I would like to say is I had a wonderful opportunity to go into a business today, and it's actually in the first word, I believe, and it's Menard's Consign and Design Fine Furnishings. And we talk about businesses not wanting to, we hear about businesses not wanting to come into the city of Lima, but these individuals were so welcoming, and they didn't know I was going to do this, but I asked for a card, and I'm asking you to go patronize them. It is so wonderful, and it's nice. They're very down to earth, and it's just a nice little store. So if you could take your time out and go see them. The other thing that I would like to say is that Mr. Fitzgerald from WLIO, I would like to give him a big thanks. Him and Mr. Thomas were actually the two individuals that seen me that first day that I stood out with the Drugs Bring Death sign. And I don't know what would have happened if those two never pulled the vehicle over. But they re-interviewed me today, and Ms. Adams said that it was on the evening news, Mr. McLean. I haven't got to see it yet, but I want you to know that I thank you from the bottom of my heart, all the support, all the organizations, churches, individuals. I just thank you for your time. The neighborhood associations were always there. I just really, really appreciate the administration also backed us up, and I just really appreciate all the efforts that everybody gave to me, their time, and It took off very, very fast. It was kind of overwhelming. But again, due to finances and it's hard, we took a big economic turn, and we couldn't supply rehab for individuals as well as we wanted to. So it is not that it has died or went away. Individuals still ask me to talk, come to the schools, churches, organizations speak, and I do that. And I probably receive 1 or 2 calls a week, and I let them know where to go. But I just want to thank the city, the citizens of Lima for all the support, and it's hard to believe that on the 31st it'll be 5 years. But again, I just want to say thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. One of the disadvantages of going last is everybody talks about everything, so I don't have anything new to say.
First time.
Well, I just keep going. I could probably come up with something.
Let's go.
Mr. President,
Gary, do you have anything?
I move that Lima City Council adjourn until March 25th at 7 p.m. in these chambers.
Second.
The motion and the second is that Lima City Council adjourn until March 25th in these chambers. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Council is adjourned.